big leagues and over the moon.
Welcome to the Landing Strip with Nick Lynham and Mikey Garcia, presented by From Financial.
Welcome back to the Landing Strip, presented by From Financial. After the Winnipeg Jets dropped their home opener 5-4 in this one, on a night where it was looking like a 5-1 getting ran out of your own barn with just over 16 minutes to go. The Winnipeg Jets sure gave a buzzing audience. I gotta say, the crowd today, we'll get into all that. The crowd was ready for this one. The Winnipeg Jets make it interesting, and we almost get another Manitoba Miracle style comeback in game one. Too little, too late. Mikey, how are you doing, buddy?
Man, I was expecting a big game. You know, it's the first one back. It's going to be emotional. They're going to be raising the banners. I thought, maybe it was going to be a slow start coming into it because you get them coming in a little cold with these, long ceremonies to start it off. But man, this one turned out to be just an absolute roller coaster. I had written them off completely at one point to only have them storm all the way back. So I'm excited to break it all down. This is going to be, I think this was a good way to start the year because I feel like there's a lot here that's, a little indicative of how I'm feeling about the team overall.
Let's start, though, with the beginning of this one because obviously it was banner night. There is 2 Winnipeg Jets earned banners up in CLC now. And that was great to see. Big time opening night vibes with the crowd tonight. The crowd, if the Jets would have went up 1-0 early, it would have been a madhouse in there tonight. Unfortunately, it didn't necessarily go that direction. But who would you have guessed going in got the biggest cheer at the beginning?
Oh, it's got to be the hometown boy.
I think he came second. It was Connor Hellebuyck.
You think Hellebuyck got the biggest? It's hard to tell on TV. Is that who it was in house?
I believe it was that much a little bit of a gap. Taves was pretty nuts in there. Lowry, I might have been third, him or Connor.
Yep. Yeah, the Lowry one was loud.
Lowry, yeah, it was good to see though. The Taves return. Obviously, the crowd was fired up. There was nothing that crowd wanted more than him to get a point or a goal tonight.
Oh,
Every time he had the puck in the O-zone, you had that anticipation going. So it was one of those nights. It was cool to be part of like those little things that are happening within a game. And then, yeah, it was a bit of a roller coaster of one. I thought, what'd you think here? What'd you think of the first period? I thought it was a closer first before this one kind of got off the rails for a bit.
Yeah, I did too. I thought they were kind of in it. It was interesting to see the power play early on as well, just to kind of. It's hard not to compare it to last year, right? I'm doing my best not to put them up against last year's team because it is a different look a little bit now. But that I jumped straight back to how would this have looked last year, and so yeah, the Jets. I kind of expected Dallas to dominate maybe a little bit early on, but the fact that they kept it what felt closer was promising, right? It was good.
And then the second period, the wheels start to come undone a little bit. And if you do want to make a comparison to last year, and I think I kind of mentioned this on our preview show, I think this is the type of team that's going to start their ascend maybe in December, January with like the injuries they got going on. And I think that's important to keep in mind here early. There is 3 key guys from this team missing right now. One of them, I think, might be the second most or third most valuable guy watching what we saw in the T-Core tonight. So I think it's important to keep that frame of mind early on in this season here. But defensively, this was where you would probably see the biggest difference from last year, where last year's team was stingent. Even on their bad nights, they were still very good defensively.
Yep.
Defensively, it was not pretty for the Winnipeg Jets in this one. The Dallas Stars were able to create seams and create looks wherever they wanted, especially against those bottom two pairs. I thought this was a very tough night, as we were expecting. We talked about it in the preview show. Fleury, Pionk were victimized for what, 3 or 4, and Stanley and Shen, it wasn't much better for them either in this one, and that's going to be the big thing that I come back to during the Sandberg. How long he's missing is how long can this team keep themselves afloat during these injuries? I think once everything gets healthy, we'll have a better idea what this team is, and they'll probably be in a lot better shape. But defensively, that was the big difference today. That wasn't the stingy Jets defense we saw last year.
No, not at all. I was talking to a friend of mine mid-game, and he asked me how I was feeling, and I said I'm kind of two minds of it right now, because what I was seeing from the forward group was giving me a little bit more hope than, maybe what I kind of had coming in. But the, defensive group as currently put together was giving me unfiltered fear. And that was, Fleury was on for 4 goals against tonight. They had guys behind them all night long. There was no way for them to stay ahead of the puck. It was shown that you've got guys who should be bottom pairing playing on your second pairing at the moment with Hayden Fleury. So it is what it is. They're going to have to weather the storm until we get some health back infused into the team. We're going to need fly in a whole new medical team or something to help out. Or maybe there's going to be a trade at some point. Everybody online really seems to think, oh, this is a sign this game for sure that Chevy needs to go out and add somebody. And I'm just, again, I'm not playing Charlie Brown with the football and waiting and praying for saviors coming in from outside. So I think the Jets getting healthy is going to be their best shot at seeing what it's going to look like when the playoffs come around.
Sounds like my mic is coming through crackly. Is it sounding crackly for you?
I don't hear it on my side, but give me 1 sec.
Okay, because I see Turd Ferguson and Matt Rothman mentioned it. I'm going to read out some of their questions here while you take a look into that. Choices TK, welcome back to the show. Choices coming into Winnipeg for a couple games later in the month. Says game was a mistake-filled mess. The second and third pairings in disarray and looked as bad as expected. Jets were just outshot and living in their own end most of the night. That comeback was as much about the Stars getting complacent and taking their foot off the gas as it was about the Jets. The score was way more flattering than how the game actually looked. To be a contender, shorthanded or not, you have to be able to compete against a team of the Stars' quality. And speaking of shorthanded, this is a team that was not very disciplined tonight. And the Dallas Stars power play was able to take advantage of some quality looks from there. Moving into some of the YouTube chats here. Gilbert, appreciate you jumping in. Matt Rothman's takeaways are Connor is a beast. Taze looks like a good contributor.
We will have to pause to fix the static for a second.
Okay. We're going to take a little pause here to fix the crackle here.
We'll be right back, everybody. Give us 1 second.
Welcome back. Sorry about the disruption there. Let me know if this sounds better on your end, folks. Lost some of the chat too. Had to do a little restart here. Let's get back into it. We're getting some welcome backs from Frosty Winnipeg. Appreciate that. Great to see Doug Henderson in attendance as well.
Brad Lavers over on Facebook as well. Welcome back. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. Everything sounds good. Okay, we're getting some thumbs up and sounds perfect in the chat. So let's get back into this. Appreciate you sticking with us. Early season troubles here. Let's go. So I thought this was obviously the tale of two games. This was the tale of Dallas really opening things up, especially against that bottom four. That's going to be a problem for the Winnipeg Jets. Especially against teams that have high offensive players, like Mikko Rantanen really did what he wanted today. Mikko Rantanen kind of owns the Winnipeg Jets here.
Yep.
What was it? 3 points, 3 drawn penalties, 4 or 5 shots on goal.
Unreal.
But to the Winnipeg Jets' credit, and to Kyle Connor's credit, it was looking like earlier. Me and Jordan were at the game. I took my youngest brother, and we were talking. And we were talking about the $12 million wingers thing, right? Cam Robinson had put out a bit of a tweet poll this afternoon debating which of the $12 million wingers or Kaprizov would you rather. And Rantanen had won the poll by quite a bit. And I was thinking early on in this game, you really saw the difference between those two wingers, right? We know what Kyle Connor can do when he's on his game, and that is score. And he scored the first goal for the Jets on a goal that comes off a lot of patience that not many scorers have. It was a great goal from Kyle Connor.
Yep.
But then it seemed like the Mikko Rantanen show really took off from there, right? And it was coming heads up against the Jets' top line at times. A lot of times it was Gulletson getting Rantanen out there against the depth of the Jets, and Rantanen would do as he pleases. To Kyle Connor, coming off the big deal himself. And you called 60. I thought road to 50, 50 and 26 was like a good, bold thing. He's going to do it first for the first time in Jets history. You went for the 60 piece.
I went real hot.
And watching him tonight, you might not be too hot. That was quite the goal-scoring showing. And it was the type of goals where he was really creating beforehand, creating the space for himself. And then that shot and that patience and the ability to get his own rebound on that second one.
Unreal.
He puts up a hat trick. Morgan Barron has individual heroics on the 4-on-3 that was ending to become a 5-on-4. And all of a sudden, a 5-1 game's 5-4 with 3 to go, and the Winnipeg Jets are going to a power play with a delay of game.
Unreal. It was, again, I'll admit it. I had written them off at that point. At 5-1, I went, oh, this is going to be a long night for our first one back. And then just the absolute storm. And, yeah, Kyle Connor making my 60 prediction. At least for one night, I can stay smug and stay a little bit ahead of it. So thank you so much, Kyle Connor. That was worth $12 million in spirit to me. We got to see him do it shorthanded. We got to see it showcasing all of his abilities tonight. Like you said, he was creating for himself. That top line is going to get a shitload of minutes. They're going to be getting so many opportunities. We may need to see the power kill, a lot more this season. I think Connor's going to be out there for those chances. And I know 60 sounded a little crazy to start the year, but at least for right now, it's intact. Yeah, no, that was a hell of a night from Kyle Connor. In my opinion, the second best player on the ice tonight behind Mikko. 100%.
Which is what you want to see if you're putting up $12 million. That's the type of game. That's the type of level. That's a great start for Kyle Connor in this campaign. Question for you here, because I know it was bothering the hell out of my brother, and then we're going to dive into some of the takeaways, because you had mentioned you thought today itemized some of the concerns, some of the other things that you see with this team this year. Question for you. Were you surprised that they didn't pull the goalie sooner with the man advantage?
I was really upset by that. It should have been done a lot sooner. Everything says to do it sooner. Every single statistic you can point at since we've been collecting this data tells you to do it. You've got that opportunity there. It made no sense to wait as long as they did to me. It was frustrating. It was very frustrating.
Yeah, I thought it would have been coming too, especially when they got set up. Why not have the sixth man out there and try and create some more? I guess the counter is you're worried about the free ice, but man, you're down a goal.
Yeah.
That was the one thing I was really frustrated with. I'd like to see, we saw our Neil more active with the lineup today, and they needed to get some things going. We've already seen some tweaks to the middle six especially, which was a bit painful to watch. I think it's going to take some time. I like the adjustment of getting Iafallo with Taves and Chibrikov.
Yes.
I thought this was a really, really tough night for Gustav Nyquist, watching him in person for the first time.
Yeah.
There wasn't a lot there for me. And Iafallo, last year he was kind of the human jumper cables when he got put on a line. He adds a bit of skating to that line. He had created a couple of looks. One to, I want to say, he got it in the forecheck, got it to Vlad, and then Vlad found him for a one-timer. That was good to see.
He also had a nice chance when he was on, before they made the actual change to moving him to that line. There was a spot where he was out with them just during a change, where he had a real nice chance with Taves. So I think that was it's something that they definitely needed to look at. We talked in the preview show that Nyquist, Taves, and Chibrikov stylistically, I just don't feel like it works, and I think we saw that tonight. Plus, Nyquist isn't. It's not 2013. That's what it is. That's exactly what it is. He's not that guy anymore, and it was on full display tonight. Taves looked a lot better than even what I was expecting him to do. Feeding off the crowd maybe a little bit and that home energy. So that was really reassuring to see that he's still got all that game still in there. It's going to take some time to warm his legs up, to warm the hands up. He's going to miss a few things wide. He's going to miss some stuff he might not normally miss to start off the year. That's not a big deal. I'm not worried about that. But it was nice to see him, still thinking the game pretty well out there. And yeah, Iafallo is a much better fit on that line than Nyquist.
I also do think there's going to be, just because they're working through, there's, 3 of the 6 guys in the middle 6 are new to the Winnipeg Jets. I think there's going to be some time there and some grace period. Just so I imagine it's going to take some time for things to gel. So it's hard to come to conclusions. Game 1, I just was not a fan of Gustav Nyquist. On the opposite side, who kind of pleasantly surprised me?
Who's that?
Tanner Pearson showed more burst in this game than anything I saw in the preseason. He had that split the D little look there.
Yep.
And then who was it? Barron with the saucer pass to Pearson on the 2-on-1 late.
Yep.
I want to say shortly after Morgan Barron had broke off on the PK for that goal. Tanner Pearson had a better night tonight than the camp I saw out of him, and that fourth line for limited ice time wasn't a problem for the Winnipeg Jets. It was more the middle 6 and the bottom 4D, I thought, tonight.
Yeah, agreed. I guess Pearson was maybe having more of a veterans training camp, right? He was taking it a little bit easy, kind of conserving that energy for the season, because he did look a lot better tonight. The jump was a little bit better. And yeah, that first line and the fourth line were the only 2 that really stayed together and played the game as a trio. So the middle 6 got jumbled around. It's funny, when they made the change for the middle 6, they had played almost the exact same amount of time, 452 and 451, 5-on-5 as a line. And it just, like you said, at times was painful to watch. It just wasn't working. So they're going to have to find some pairings and maybe kind of work things around in there. And hopefully we start getting some healthy bodies back soon too.
For sure. It seems like the chat kind of saw the same out of Nyquist as us. Al Camino says, Taves needs a winger. Nyquist ain't it. There was another one here. Matt Rothman said, I barely noticed Nyquist. And hey, Julian said, I could see like that wasn't going to work a few days ago now. That line looked tragic. Nyquist is not the Ehlers replacement. There's going to be some time to sort some things out. It's going to be probably rough early on. There's going to be nights, probably a lot of nights, where you're really depending on that top line for the offense, and they came through on this one. What'd you think? Let's talk about the Winnipeg Kid. Obviously, an emotional day, emotional night. The crowd was feeling it. What's your takeaway from Johnny Toews' debut with the Winnipeg Jets?
There was a lot more there than what I was afraid that there was going to be. I know we've all been real excited about the story behind all of it, the feeling, the hometown kid, Captain Serious. He's the gold medal winner. He's the Stanley Cup winner. I was just worried that, Father Time catches up, hadn't played in quite a while, coming back from such a serious injury. Is he going to be able to contribute at the level that he was expected, that he expects from himself, And I thought he was fine. I thought he was really good for what they needed from him. Now, is he the answer for, a 2C that the Jets have been searching for quite a long time? No, I still don't think that that's quite there yet. I think they're still going to need either that role to be Adam Lowry when he comes back and kind of playing around with things, or they're going to try to find somebody. But there was a lot better there than what I was afraid there was going to be with Toews. So I was pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, and you know what? One thing I think that stood out today, game one, that is, Toews obviously gets talked up for his defensive game, right? Especially in his prime. He was that two-way center. But it wasn't like he piled up points in the regular season. He was, a point-a-game player once playoffs game, though, and the games really mattered.
Yep.
But he was always like a defensive presence. I thought his offensive game stood out more to me tonight in this one. Perfectly fine in that middle six. I thought he had some creative touches. He had some good looks there, like that one off that Chibrikov path where he goes wide right. That would have been great to see with the rookie in his first game this season with Toews, setting him up for the Winnipeg goal. Didn't quite happen, but I thought Toews was around it, especially in the O zone. I imagine it's going to take some time before we see whatever the peak of this is going to look like, but I was encouraged by what we saw at Toews, and I think when you start looking at this roster, I think he was the right call for the fourth forward. For the empty net, and I don't know if that's necessarily a positive thing this early, but you look at who's available, and that was the right choice.
Yep, it absolutely was the right call. That's the one that I wanted to see them go to as well, right? Can you imagine the story if he pots the tying goal there? So, like you said, he was around it all night. He was involved. He was in the right places. So as long as he keeps up that type of play, the results will come. The points will come. That first goal at home is going to absolutely tear the roof off. I know you were saying the crowd wanted it bad. Hey, they were itching for that Toews goal.
Oh, every time he was like near something around the net, you had that anticipation and the cheers kind of build up, waiting for that moment, and then it just didn't quite happen there today. Let's go. The show has been going, even though with the pause, for about half. Why don't we jump in to the old From Financial Face-Off, and then we'll move this thing over. We'll open up the phone lines if anyone wants to call in. We'll start interacting and pulling combos from the chat to lead the rest of the way for this episode. Let's move into the From Financial Face-Off, which is back for another year.
All right, I'll hit it. Right on.
Right on. Here we go. If you weren't with us last year, you're just tuning in. The From Financial Face-Off is a segment we want to be communicating with you guys about what was the difference? What was the moment in the game? What was it could be a single play. It could be a moment. It could be something that was lacking in the system. It could be something that was lacking on specialty teams. What was your From Financial Face-Off difference-making play in this game? Mikey, do you got one to start us off?
So I would try to stay away from the quite obvious ones of the Kyle Connors and all that. I'm going to go to something that I thought was missing for the Jets today, and that was speed on power play 1. I thought it was pretty obvious today that they are missing somebody to add an extra element of speed on that first power play. While the system was still there from last year, you could see it in the way that they were trying to move the puck. It just wasn't there with the speed and the urgency that you would normally get, especially when things would break down. You know, I don't want to be bringing it up all year, but that's a role that was previously filled by a player who's no longer with us and who happened to be one of the faster guys on the team. So when you're replacing that with, you know, Alex Iafallo to start out was the, you know, the first replacement on that power play 1, it just, to me, it stood out pretty plainly that they need an extra element still of speed on that top power play to really be effective.
Okay, I like that one. And the power play on this night has an 0 for 4 night in a game that ends up being decided by 1 goal. So you can make the case the power play was the difference. The From Financial face-off for me is going to be the $12 million difference. I thought this was a game where both star $12 million wingers really were the best ones out there on the ice for both teams. They really showed what they're good at. Let's say they really leaned into their strengths to try and put their team over. Mikko Rantanen with the goal and 2 assists, draws 3 penalties. He was, in my opinion, the best player in this game. And then Kyle Connor with 3 of his own to will the Winnipeg Jets back into this. The From Financial faceoff in this game for me is the $12 million difference. The Stars showed up, and we're the Stars. I'm gonna go with that as my From Financial faceoff, and we're gonna dive into the chat to see what some of our brilliant commenters have to say about what they saw out of this one. Starting with Turd Ferguson over on YouTube says that the From Financial faceoff biggest difference in this game was Sandberg breaking his arm a week ago, and it's really hard to argue. Like, the one thing this game shows. It's and I talked about this in the preview show. It is easy to hide one defensive pairing in a game. The Winnipeg Jets have done it with Logan Stanley for 8 years now, 9 years now. It is impossible to hide 2 defensive pairs, and watching Hayden Fleury specifically get victimized out there, it was hard to see. So, and that's exactly where the Sandberg spots is, right? Hayden Fleury probably has the toughest night out of that bottom 4, and that was the Dylan Sandberg difference. So I like that one from Turd Ferguson. Matt Rothman's From Financial faceoff difference-making play was when Dallas scored on the 5-on-3 power play to make it 3-1, whereas Winnipeg couldn't score on any of theirs. And I actually want to build off Matt Rothman's point there too, because one thing the Winnipeg Jets did very well last year was not letting moments like that spiral away from them. That was a big talking point we had last year, where the Winnipeg Jets were really good at bouncing back in games, right? And after that 5-on-3 goal, Dallas gets a quick one right after that to make it 5-4 within 30 seconds. And it felt like at that moment, didn't end up aging that way, but it felt like at that moment that game was kind of done. And then then Matt Duchesne spinoramas and makes Fleury look bad for one more before going back door to Tyler Seguin. But yeah, just a real tough night for the bottom 4. I like that point out from Matt Rothman. Frosty Winnipeg says their From Financial faceoff is Barron saved the game for the Jets, and Barron did seem to inject some energy back into that one. At 5-2, that crowd went bananas. Kyle Connor scores shortly after. It's 5-3, and all of a sudden there was a game to be played, right? Me and my brother went from wondering if we were going to be like the Yankees fans going to trying to beat the traffic. And then once it hit 5-3, we're like, we're in this to the end. We don't know what's going to happen here.
Yep. The scout look over on YouTube from Financial Faceoff. Miller in a suit. Sorry, I like Miller. And I'm with you on that one. The fact that Colin Miller, one, is still with the Jets. I do this at the beginning of every season. I'm shocked that he is still somehow with the Jets and not dressed. I don't know if they showed his face on the Jumbotron in the arena, because they showed it on TV when they introduced him. And boy, did he look pissed. He did not look happy to be there. I felt so bad for Colin Miserable, the poor guy, man.
So I see Hulk on Twitch and Julian on YouTube have similar ones here. Their From Financial Faceoff is how slow this team looked tonight was jarring. I knew it was going to be an adjustment without Ehlers, but it looked like they were stuck in quicksand at times. Hulk also says, Speedman, I bothered you with this all offseason, for which I apologize about, but so many of the downswings this game came directly from the Jets just always being a half step behind. It was a lot of stick infractions that usually don't happen.
Yeah.
And, hey, we kind of did know that going in, that was an expectation that they weren't quite going to have it. Scott Westman says his From Financial Faceoff was Nik pounding 9 Slurpees tonight. Hashtag legend.
That's a
I have
legend.
not had my first in-ring. Slurpee yet. It's coming though. It's coming.
That's such a good ad. That's I hate to say it, but good job, True North. That's you guys knocked it out on that one. It's a good idea.
I like Frosty's here too, because I do want to mention this in the drawn penalties that Rantanen had. Frosty Winnipeg says From Financial Faceoff is Rantanen convincing the refs to give the Jets penalties when he falls on his own. He definitely sold both of the Pionk ones from my angle for such a big man. Now I'll say this: the one in the corner, I put a lot more blame on Neil Pionk. Rantanen was yelling and arguing with the ref because it was a delayed penalty, and Pionk thinks it's a great time to go poke the bear. Meanwhile, you're getting a power play, and at that point, it's a 2-1 hockey game. There is no need to even put yourself in that fucking position.
Yep.
That one I put on Pionk. Everyone in the building knew it was a delayed call for like 15 seconds at that point.
Yep.
It was just, that was a dumb one. But the interference in the neutral zone was a sell job, 100%.
Yes. Yep, 100. It looked like that way on TV as well, especially when you watched it back a little bit slow. You're like, yeah, come on. He sells it, and they bought it.
Yeah, no, I definitely had some frustrations. For such a big, dominant player, I do hate to see that stuff. But, hey, on this night it works. It helps the Dallas Stars on their way to 2 points out of the gate. Oh.
Julian over on YouTube says Stanley should be waived, Fleury should be in the press box, and Villian and Saddle need to be brought up to be the third pair. Let's see how well they work off each other.
Okay, let's settle down a little bit here.
I love game one. I love game one.
Yeah. I do like this from Al Camino. Start spreading the news. The Jets 5, 6, 7 D-man or AHL level.
Oh. Ouch! It's painful.
Hey, we'll see where this goes. It's gonna be a long stretch without Sandberg. It's only game one. I thought this team was right there in it in the first half. Things fell apart quick, and for a long stretch. Not Hellebuck's banner night either. Not Connor Hellebuck's banner night either.
Yeah, no, that's not the way he wants to start off a new campaign. If you want another Vezina, it's not the best way.
No. But that looks like it for the From Financial Face-Off. Let's talk about some of the stories around the team, because obviously we did the preview show, and at that point we had a good idea that the Connor deal was finished based on Freeman's tweets. Yep. It wasn't finalized. I want to talk about that a little bit. David Gustafson hit waivers today, so we could discuss that a little bit. There's been some newsy items around the team a little bit here. Ranis, Concert, Brian, Nick, it's great to see you back, man. Appreciate that. It's great to be back. You know, I love doing this. I love being able to get together with the community after each game, talk about it the next day when we see comments over on YouTube. So it's great to be back. It's great for hockey season to be back. Kyle Connor, Michigan man, makes Manitoba home for the rest of his career. 8 years, $12 million AAV, full no move clause, and $41 million of the $96 million paid out in signing bonuses. I'll let you start, Mikey. And we want to hear from the chat. How excited are you that Kyle Connor has re-upped and committed his career to Winnipeg? Mikey, what did you think when you saw all the details of the deal and where we're at right now?
I was jacked. I was really excited about this. Kyle Connor's that's my guy. That's been the player that I've been just absolutely following right through, college all the way coming up to the Jets and everything. So the fact that they've got him locked in, he's now the most expensive player that the Jets have ever signed, which kind of throws a little bit of water into the Jets will never sign a big money deal. The fact that they structured it the way that they did with the huge signing bonuses also kind of, I personally like it. I think that this is a signal that to the rest of the league, to the other players out there, you can come and do business with the Jets. You don't have to worry about, if you're not, because they hadn't done this before, right? They hadn't gone this route with this type of structure, and I do think it was a positive step and a little bit of a signal out to the rest of the league. Free agents coming up, you can do business here to players that maybe take us off of those no trade lists one day. So I think it's good for the team in a on ice perspective. 3 goals tonight. He's getting 60 this year. I'm gonna die on that hill. And I think it's good for them off the ice in a business standpoint, right? He sells tickets, he sells jerseys, and I do think that this huge, big money deal is a signal out to, other players that Winnipeg is a destination for you.
Yeah, obviously I was the one proponent of trading Kyle Connor and not committing the big dollars. Though, as I explained last show, it's more the situation I view that the team is in, not necessarily the player himself. I think this is going to be a fine contract. I don't think it's. I've seen some takes that this is gold, and I think that's a bit much.
That's a little heavy. Yeah. Even I'm not going to say that. You know what I mean? And I love the player. Even I don't think this contract is like, oh my God, they nailed it. What a deal. Like, no, it's not going to be great when we start getting towards the end of it. Exactly. It's market value. And I don't think they overpaid. It's not like they had to, fork over $14 million and, no signing bonus, like all these other things people were talking about. They paid him what he was worth out on the market, and they did it and kept him here for a full 8 years. I think this to me was a real, it's a signal, in my opinion, that, the Jets will do business.
Yeah, so I just wanted to say part of that for me is just like when you look at the other $12 million players plus, I firmly have Kyle Connor at the bottom of that kind of list is my thing.
That's fair.
Though on the good side of it, Kyle Connor is a very good hockey player. I mean, he was a first-team All-Star last year.
Yep.
He's likely going to be an Olympian.
Yep.
If he plays at last year's level, and this was one thing I said on the preview show, I think it'll be more than fine for the first half of that deal, as long as we don't go back to the version that wasn't as committed to the two-way game and picking up things outside of the offensive zone. I also think there's a lot of credit that goes actually to True North and the ownership group, Mark Chipman, in this deal, as you're talking about with the bonus structure and whatnot. I do think that that is a massive signal, like you're talking about, to players around the league that, hey, Winnipeg's willing to pony up when they need to. But I actually think it's a good signal to this market that this team is committed and this ownership group's committed to spending big, even in a changing environment. And they did something that they haven't done. And $41 million USD in Winnipeg as a signing bonus is nothing to sneeze at. Like that's pretty big.
That's pretty good
business. So I do think as a fan of the team, I think that is something that you should look at positively, that the team was willing to do stuff like that, because this is how free agent contracts are negotiated. And actually, Connor's agent spoke with what's his name, Pierre LeBrun, and talked about how they approached the team and said, hey, we're looking for a free agent deal. We want a full no-move clause. We're going to need signing bonuses in there. That's what it's going to take to keep Kyle Connor in Winnipeg.
Yep.
And for the ownership group to step up, I do think that's a big indicator. So I do want to point that out. We'll see where this goes. As I said in the previous show, and I put this on social media, if you're going to make this investment, you can't keep this whole – we're going to be competitive for the next 20 years, just maintaining a level, and we're going to keep all of our prospects, and we're not going to make the big move. When regression hits the Winnipeg Jets core, this is an old core. When regression hits, and it hits everyone, unfortunately.
Yep.
Age, no, Father Time is undefeated.
Yes, sir.
It's going to be hard to replace what this core has meant to this team with their current farm system. At this point, you made that big commitment now to Scheifele, Connor, and Hellebuck. It is time to go get them the help they need if you want this team to go on a deep run that you're looking for. That's where this goes, right? That's the context of this. If you're making this big bet, you better go and actually fill this roster so that it can go on a deep run. So that's kind of where I'm at with all of that.
Yeah, 100%. You've got Morrissey tied up still for 3 more seasons. You've got your Hellebuck, Scheifele, Connor, Velarde, all long-term big deals signed. Like you said, this is the time. Now is when you have to make that push. This banners last forever. Your prospects don't. This is the time to do it. That feeling you had tonight of getting to put up that President's Trophy banner, getting to put up, the Western Conference, all those type of things. Great, awesome, wonderful. Now let's do the Stanley Cup one. Make that big push if you get yourself in that position, and with the group that you have there, it's the time to do it.
Lisa over on YouTube says they have made big moves. That's how they got AI and Velarde. Yeah, they made the big PLD trade when he asked out. The thing is, this team needs an impact scorer for the second line and an impact right-handed D if it wants to go on that deep run that we all as fans envision and want to be a part of. They're 2 core pieces shy that they're going to have to find a way to get at least halfway there with.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean with the big moves. They've made the big moves when they've been backed into it. Now it's time to get aggressive in this window with everybody locked up.
Yeah, they've been able to do real well when it comes to talent for talent type of moves. They need to now start being able to just add to the NHL roster without subtracting. It can't just be a player who is demanding a trade and then, you find a way out of it and you're able to get some quality back and keep it going, great. But there comes a time where, kind of like last year, where you get yourself into that, that top spot and you really want to make that push. If they can do that again, right, find a way to put themselves in that position, they need to not get played like they did last year, because that was tough.
On that topic too, one thing they've clearly done really well on, you mentioned how they've made moves when players have asked out. It's clear that this dressing room is in a really good place where the players really enjoy each other. But one thing that's come out, and I think it was LeBron or Chris Johnson, had a veteran player tell him that outside the original 6 that the Winnipeg Jets have treated him the best. They've clearly done a lot of things right in the post-Blake Wheeler era with this group. So I do think there's credit there. Now, if they want to take the big step, though, it's time to – and that's what I want to kind of reiterate is when we do a show like this, I very much believe in covering a team and talking about a team based on what that team's respective goals should be. And everyone's talking about this is a cup window. That's the standard I'm trying to hold them to. Now, if they were rebuilding or retooling, we're looking at this a little different.
Yep.
If they want to win a cup, they're going to have to add to this team in a big way to make that happen. Some comments over on Twitch about the Connor deal that says, Hulk says kind of scary that all the analytical folks are getting comps for the contract like Jamie Benn and Mika Zibanejad. And yeah, there's a lot of models that project a pretty early fall off for Kyle Connor, and if that happens, it won't be a pretty situation. You could kind of see what that looks like in Calgary with Huberto right now. Someone I've made those comparisons to. Al Camino points out Chipper looking forward to having 81-37, 44-17. 56, 55 likely retire as Jets, and I do think that is true.
Yep. Yeah, that makes sense.
Lisa says, I'd say 3 core pieces, 1 more year of Nik would have been fire. And hey, I would, that's
Agree.
where I would agree to that would be the ideal push. I'm saying 2 because they might be able to pull off 2, but I would agree with that, Lisa. And then Skellick had a question here. I don't think the league will let Helly win a third Vezina in a row. Last to do it was Hasek. Only one to do it, question mark. Voters will be dumb even if he ends up deserving it. I think it goes that way, but the other thing is, I don't know if there's voter fatigue with GMs as much. I just think what might hurt Hellebuck this year is if the team does take a bit of a step back, that'll be the narrative that the Jets stepped back. Whereas I think my pick this year was Vasilevsky, where I think Tampa might even win that division this year.
Yeah, I could see that happening as well. GMs, may not have as much voter fatigue as the, if it was the writers making the voting there. It'll be interesting to see how the season shakes out, especially after the incredible high of last year that Hellebuck was riding. Anything less than that may not be. It may be looked at in comparison, which then kind of dims the shine a bit.
Ranis Concert Brian over on Twitch says it's tough thinking about that because no matter what, they won't have the same baseline of talent that they had with Ehlers in the mix. Last year was the time, in my opinion, and the best they came up with was Shannon Tanem's smile. I remember sitting on this very stream during the deadline, watching my hope disappear when that was the two trades back to back and realizing where that was going. Brian, I feel you completely there. Let's talk about the Gus Bus, though. So the Jets have made two very anti-Winnipeg Jets type moves to round out this roster. Our times are changing with the Winnipeg Jets management and coaching staff here. First, we get Ville Heinola waived, which we talked about in the preview show. I think that was the best move for his career.
Yep.
I think him playing hockey, whether it was with the Moose or someone else, was the way to go. And I think that was a good way of going about it. Now that the Moose are going to benefit, which is going to benefit the Jets prospects that are graduating this year. Works for me. Today we get David Gustafsson on waivers to keep Parker Ford and Brad Lambert, both of which with aren't waivers are waivers exempt, so they wouldn't have needed waivers to go down. Instead, David Gustafsson, 25-year-old center, hits the waiver wire. Clearly was very far down the coaching staff's depth chart, 15th at this point, and that's not even including Taves and Perfetti.
Yep.
What did you think seeing David Gustafsson, the Gus Bus waived, and do you think he gets claimed tomorrow?
I actually think he's going to pass. I think he's probably going to pass through. At least maybe that's what the calculation maybe was. It's still early in the season when rosters are fairly full before a lot of injuries have hit. You can probably sneak them down, but it'll be interesting to see if there are a bunch of teams where he could absolutely step on and help out and play. So yeah, it's possible, but I don't know why. I've got a feeling he's going to be able to pass through. I was surprised though. I was a little bit shocked. That's normally, like you said, not a very Winnipeg Jets type of move. Normally you'd keep the guy that you don't have to expose to waivers. You don't have to, quote unquote, risk losing. And you send down one of the kids who's exempt. The fact that they kept up both Lambert and Ford maybe is a bit of a signal that they are, going to be factoring into the Jets lineup, with injuries and things like that a lot sooner than we were expecting. Normally, Gus would slot onto a fourth line and one of the fourth liners would pump up. But it might not be like that this time around, especially when you've got, maybe Koepke and Pearson, who on that fourth line are giving you a little bit more than what you'd gotten out of the fourth line in years past. You may have to, if you have an injury in that middle six, drop in a Brad Lambert right away. So it's I was surprised that that's the route that they went, but I was real happy about it. How about you?
I was a little surprised, and I'm a Gus Bus guy. In my heart of hearts, I think that guy could play on a fourth line for like the next decade and be just steady. Like, you're not getting anything special out of him, but he works hard. Good defensive player, good PKer. I do wonder if he gets claimed. I mean, he's a centerman in his prime that could add to the depth of a team on the cheap. Like, we're talking about an $800K player.
Yep.
I have a feeling he gets claimed. Now, we'll see at this time of year. And actually, I'll credit Turd Ferguson. We were talking about this earlier. Turd had a theory that part of waiving him at this point, because at some point Lowry and Perfetti are going to factor back in here,
yep,
that it might have been easier to get a Gustafsson through right now as teams just finalize their rosters.
Yes.
They want to get a look at what they have, whereas in the middle of November, let's say, maybe there's some openings that open up and you end up claiming the guy. So that was an interesting theory from Turd that I have some time for.
Yeah, that's
Very
that's
curious
what I
to
think.
see. Yeah, if he gets through, that's going to be another big ad for the Moose, and all of a sudden, I might be spending just as much time going to Moose games as I am Jets games with what that team's starting to round out and look like. But I do think Gus is an NHL hockey player. I do think he's an NHL depth centerman. We'll see where that one goes. I'm also curious what it means for Parker Ford and Brad Lambert. More so Brad Lambert than Parker Ford.
Yeah,
I think Parker Ford, I think who put it in here, Al Camino said Parker Ford is the new Tanev, a bad player that will overplay until he gets sort of good.
yep,
I I very much do think the Jets really value that motor and his work ethic. That at some point we'll see him on the fourth line,
agreed.
but I think they're more okay press boxing a guy like that.
Yeah,
It has been very anti-Jets to have like a guy like Brad Lambert who would be a feature with the Moose who didn't need waivers stick around. That I wonder if they're looking at some sort of rotation with maybe Chibrikov's spot. Maybe let's see which of the two rookies works best with a Jonathan Toews potentially.
yep,
Another thing that I did wonder, because Lambert does play some center, is we know Taves was kind of day to day, and they were seeing how he responded, and then he was good to go. I wonder if this is maybe a bit of a shelter to what the uncertainty around what a comeback looks like for Jonathan Taves,
yep.
and having that piece to potentially plug in should you need to, or should you need to manage his minutes a little bit. Because I just can't see them keeping Lambert up, and he's not going to factor into this lineup.
No, 100%. If the fact that he's still with the team says he's going to be playing at some point, like you said, whether that's shifting in and out with Chibi, whether that's popping in at center, maybe that's, maybe the plan was that he was going to play on the fourth line, swap out with Morgan Barron at some point, because I know they did that last year a little bit with the fourth line, moving guys around. Maybe the goal tonight messes with it a little bit if that's the plan, but I do think he's going to play, now that he's still with the team. Otherwise, they wouldn't have kept him up. They're not going to let him just sit and watch when he could be playing games with the Moose and not risking any waivers. So to me, it screams that he's going to be sliding in here at some point. I'm just not totally sure where.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. I'm honestly intrigued, too, the more I've gotten to see Taves and what he looks like right now. I am intrigued about the idea of Lambert playing off of him with the speed and offensive creativity. Taves being the physically dominant, he still uses his size really well, and he was really good with the puck touches, looking for offensive looks. That I'm actually really intrigued by the idea of Taves and Lambert together, and I wasn't all that thrilled with Lambert's camp, but I saw flashes, and I wonder about those flashes next to a guy like Johnny Taves.
Yep, and in my opinion, the Jets like the mentor program. The Jets like to, have certain guys that they can kind of model after and mold some of their young guys. And that does feel like a pairing I could see the Jets kind of intrigued by. Can you craft, something out of Brad Lambert as a center, especially if you kind of play him around and with Jonathan Taves, keeping him with the team? It'd be an interesting story.
Yeah, interesting story indeed. Also, did you see Nick Ehlers got 19 minutes and 35 seconds tonight? I was told that he liked to play 15 minutes.
That's crazy. I don't know how they could do that. Did his legs fall off?
I just had to throw that in there as it ended up in a group chat I'm in. I don't have much more to add. I think we're going to learn about this team as we go.
Yep.
We're not going to see the best version of it until guys like Lowry, Cole Perfetti, both of which are two big pieces to that middle six that struggled today. Dylan Sandberg, who we all know saves Neil Pionk and saves that decor. It might be tough sledding for a little bit here. They might be fortunate. They only play 3 playoff teams in their first 12. But I'm taking a patient approach this year. I think we're going to learn about this team still. There's new faces. There's some very key injuries. And you hope that they just stay in it, Hover around it. Hover around it until you get healthy. Let's move into the 3 stars of the night.
All right.
Who did our chat have as the 3 stars of the night? Let us know in the chat. We'll go through them. Me and Mikey will give ours as well.
Let's hit it. Right on.
Mikey, you want to start this one off tonight?
All right. So, 3rd star, number 36, Morgan Muriel Barron. That shorthanded goal was just insane. That was a lot of fun. It popped the arena. It got the air back into the lungs for everybody. Even watching at home, it got me out of my seat. He every once in a while he chips in offensively with something magical like that. So I got to give it to Barron on that 4th line, which again the 4th line was the other line besides the first that actually stayed together all night. So he's able to center that one, and thought he had a good game just kind of overall. So I'm going to give number 3 to Barron. Number 2 was tough. Number 1, we all know, I think. It's going to be an easy one. Number 2, I went back and forth on who I was going to give it to. But I gave it to number 55. I gave it to Scheifele. Setting up Connor all night long. I think that duo is going to be responsible for the majority of Jets points to start the year, and for a vast majority of it, I think. Which is okay because Scheifele's trying to play himself onto an Olympic team, and Kyle Connor's going to get 60 goals and make me look good. So I'm going to give 2nd star to Scheifele tonight. And number 1 star, come on, Kyle Connor. Hat trick, $12 million man. He showed everything tonight on why he was worth all of that money. So like I said, he's going to make me look good, and he's going to be the first Jet to get to 50, and then he's going to get 60 by the time the year's all done.
All right. I'm going to go with, I'm not nearly as generous as much fun as that game could be or became. That was still a Dallas Stars ass kicking of the Winnipeg Jets with a bit of a miracle fun comeback. I'm going to go 3rd star from Dallas. Jason Robertson, who the one thing I'll say with Dallas, how are they going to pay Robertson and Harley with these new contracts coming out? There's going to be some decisions there.
Yep.
Jason Robertson, come on down to Winnipeg.
No shit.
Okay, but apart from that fantasy, 2nd star, he was Winnipeg's best player. 3 goals in this one. KFC, Kyle Connor, with a big opening night as he heads towards 50 and potentially even 60. And if he hits 60, Mikey, you are a prophet. And then the number 1 star in this one, a guy I think division rival Colorado is regretting not just paying, given where the contracts have gone. Mikko Rantanen, as frustrating as it is to be on this side of it, this was the Mikko Rantanen game again against the Winnipeg Jets, and their vaunted decor right now. So that's my 3 stars. If anyone in the chat had some 3 stars watching this game, we'll go through them. If not, we will take off. I'm a little tired after this eventful night. It was great to see everyone in the chat. We'll be back Saturday after they host the LA Kings, I believe it is.
Yep, Saturday afternoon against the LA Kings.
A world where it's going to be Cody Ceci versus Hayden Fleury, Luke Shen, and Logan Stanley. Who will look the worst? Cody Ceci has had the prototypical start to his NHL season.
Yep.
And it astounds me. I was looking at this the other day. I was watching what game was it? LA Edmonton, LA Vegas? And I was looking it up. Ken Holland has guaranteed Cody Ceci 8 years of employment and $31 million in his career. It's insane.
They need to be investigated for insider trading or fucking collusion, RICO. I don't know what the crime is, but there's a crime there.
Yeah, the crime is whoever's fan base ends up having to watch Cody Ceci. So look for the top line to light up Ryan Dumoulin and Cody CC Saturday.
Yup.
We will be back to live it all down and talk with you all after then. You enjoy the rest of your weeks. We'll see you Saturday.
Right on. Good night, everybody.
Good night and thank you.